need this. Let's move it over. Let's see. You think this is a good look? This is not a good look. Man, I need to see a hairdresser. Hi! I wanted to put out this really brief video just discussing, iOS betas. In case you don't know what a beta is, I will explain it. I'm going to assume that you do because you searched for it. But just in case you don't, we will go over that. I wanted to release this video because over the last few days, mostly since my WWDC video, which I'll link up here in the corner, I've had a few people reach out to me directly asking a lot of questions about iOS 15 in particular and just betas. Some of them have even asked me if I thought that it would be a good idea if they should install the beta. Now, I didn't respond to everybody, and if you're one of the ones that I didn't respond to, I apologize. I did actually receive a lot of questions about this, but I'm going to be covering the general response that I gave essentially everybody in this here video. So here we go. So first I want to discuss kind of like my own personal use of betas, just so you guys know that I have an experience base to be talking about from this. I do also want to discuss the history of them a little bit. So the first thing to cover would be the fact that I have used several betas in the past. I think I started trying out developer betas back with iOS 6, and I've tried at one point or another a beta for just about every iOS since that point. Now, betas have been around forever and a day at this point. It hasn't been up until recently that Apple started releasing it to the public at a certain point, and that sort of thing I am going to cover in this video. The purpose of a beta is for developers and software testers to iron out all the bugs so that when it goes out to the general public, it's as smooth as possible. For this, the developers have to work tirelessly, just non-stop. I don't envy them. It's a lot of work. I've seen some of this stuff happen in the back end. A few of my friends have gone to school for some of this stuff, so I'll watch them actually do some of their coding. It's an entirely different language. If you are a developer watching this video and you are somebody that's working on this sort of thing, I need you to know I greatly appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the great work. So when a beta is released to the developer crowd and they have a chance to take a swing at it and do what they need to do, they're able to iron out most, if not all, kinks by the point in time that it is released to the public, which means that when it hits most people's phones that are going to be watching this, it's as good as it's going to get, at least for the first variation of that software. Now, there are certain cons of betas, and this is going to lean into whether or not I think that you should try it out. The cons of a beta is that it is, in fact, full of bugs. When it is released to anybody, including developers, very rarely is it an ironed out software. To a point, there are even bugs that could completely brick your phone. And if you don't know what that is, just think of a very expensive paperweight. And even if it's not necessarily something as serious as bricking your phone, there could come a lot of other really bizarre errors that happen with whatever device that you're using for that beta. Which is why, if you are a developer using this, it is recommended by Apple specifically that you don't use your daily driver. If you don't know what a daily driver is, it is the phone that you use on the daily to ensure that you have connectivity to those that you love. So if you are going to be trying or testing a beta, they wholly recommend you use another device kicking around that you don't intend on using every single day. Now, I have to say, just to be as transparent as possible for all of you, I have, in fact, been bitten by using a beta that maybe I shouldn't have been using. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was one of the iOS 12 betas that I was trying out, and when I got the over-the-air update for it, my phone just became stuck in a boot loop. Now, luckily enough, I used to do some developer stuff on the back end, going back years ago, but I knew how to fix that issue. But the problem is that some of the individuals that are using these betas don't know how to fix that. So if their phone gets into a point where it's stuck in a boot loop, a lot of individuals are going to just, and maybe some a little bit more aggressively than that, depending on what phone they put it on or how expensive that phone was. And that leads me to something that I just briefly want to touch on that I've been seeing on Twitter, specifically over the last few days. There have been a handful of individuals that I'm fairly certain, if not entirely certain, are not developers, but they are using this software on their daily driver. So those are some pretty big no-nos. Those are some things that Apple themselves even recommend against. And these same individuals online are complaining about broken features, a lot of bugs, clunkiness, some instances of boot loops, some instances where the phone will just shut itself off and never turn back on. Now, I'm not going to come down on anybody for doing what they want to do. You do you. It's your life, your device, whatever. But I feel that it's unfair that I've seen some attacking happening to developers online, and that sort of thing needs to stop. It is not a developer's fault that you decided to put a software on your device that was not necessarily meant for you or that device. So devs, if you're getting any type of messages like that, totally disregard it. It means nothing. So that brings me to my next point. Should you be using a beta right now if you are not a developer? Hard no. That's just my opinion. If you want to do it, like I said, do you. It's your device, but my recommendation would be not to try it. At least not yet. Let me get to that. There comes a point where in the beta update cycle that Apple will start releasing it to the public. Public beta. As I previously touched on, it's something that Apple didn't start doing up until like the last few years, where let's say we are 3 cycles, give or take, into the beta software for developers, then we will see something called beta 1 for the public, or public beta 1. Typically, public beta 1 equals the same build that the devs are currently using, which could be build 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on where the stability is. Now, if you want to try it at that point, have at it. The reason why I say that is that Apple would release that to the public if they feel that it is stable enough that it is not going to destroy your phone. You might still notice some adverse effects here and there, as I mentioned, broken features, clunkiness, it's just not overly smooth. But the likelihood of getting stuck into a boot loop where the phone's just consistently restarting itself or just shuts off and never turns back on again, is highly unlikely. So, to end this very brief video off, do I think that you should try the beta? If you want to, sure. But I would recommend waiting for the public beta. So then your next question's probably, when's the public beta coming out? Now that's hard to say. That's entirely an Apple thing. It's up to them to decide when they want to release that beta. But historically, what would happen is that when beta 1 comes out for the developers, which it just did with WWDC, it's anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks before those devs will see another update to that software. Usually goes in cycles like that, 2 to 3 weeks. And then once we hit cycle like 3 or 4, or rather beta update 3 or 4, is when the public beta comes out. On average, or at least historically, that's what we've seen in the past. So that means, to be honest, you may only have to wait another month, maybe month and a half, before the public betas come out. A fellow content creator, Aaron Zolo, he runs the channel Zolo Tech. He often goes over the beta software and he lets everybody know when the public betas come out. So I would recommend checking him out. I'll link his channel down in the description. So to cap everything off, I do think the betas are helpful, and I greatly appreciate everything that the developers do to ensure that this software is as smooth as it can be when it actually hits everybody else's phones. I do think the general public should, to a degree, try them out. Like, if you want to do it, go for it. I would recommend not doing it right now. Just wait for the public beta to come out. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up. And if you love this video, please subscribe. You're going to help me build this channel into something huge if you do that. What do we think? We want like one more look at it? Look at this is insane. What? Yo, just get me the hedge trimmers. I'm just going to take care of this right now.